It is almost unbelievable how the internet erupted when whispers about Keke Wyatt's private life leaked into the public arena. What started as small murmurs in obscure comment sections suddenly exploded into a full digital wildfire, with people on TikTok stitching videos, Twitter threads spiraling out of control, and Facebook Andes clutching their pearls like society had just witnessed the plot twist of the year. And then, out of nowhere, her ex-husband stepped forward and dropped accusations so explosive that entire timelines went into meltdown. He painted a picture of a marriage drenched in chaos, emotional warfare, and a level of manipulation that left viewers stunned. According to him, Keke was not just difficult, she was the architect of emotional destruction, the storm that tore everything apart, leaving him and everyone around her spiraling in confusion and heartbreak. But the real shock, the twist that sent social media straight into cardiac arrest, was his claim that Keke had been carrying on an alleged secret affair throughout their marriage, with her own cousin. People refused to believe it at first. Reddit threads popped up, Instagram blogs started posting screenshots, and YouTube reactors began screaming into their microphones because the allegation sounded like something ripped straight out of a psychological thriller. And if you think that was the end of the madness, think again. He claimed that the two of them, now apparently united, were trying to open what he described as a fake church, a spiritual cash grab designed to siphon money out of innocent people searching for hope. Commenters were dragging their wigs off in disbelief, asking how something this bizarre could even be real. The more details he spilled, the darker the story became. The way he described their marriage felt like watching someone slowly walk through a burning house, with every room revealing a new horror. Loyalty shattered. Trust mangled. Promises twisted into weapons. It made many people wonder whether the turbulence that followed Keke across her 3 failed marriages might not have been just bad luck, but a pattern, one that she kept running from without ever stopping to fix the wreckage behind her. And that is the tragic part, because beneath all the chaos, the scandals, and the emotional wreckage, people still remember that she possesses one of the most powerful voices in the industry. Yet somehow, her personal storms have always overshadowed her talent, leaving fans torn between sympathy, disbelief, and a sinking feeling that maybe, just maybe, the drama was not following her, she was creating it. When people look back at the beginning of Keke's story, it almost feels like the opening chapter of a tragic novel that nobody realized would turn into a full-blown saga. She married at just 18 years old, barely an adult, tying her future to her road manager, Ramad Morton. And for almost a decade, that marriage was a battlefield that left both of them scarred. The internet still gasps whenever the old reports resurface, whispers of violence, soul-breaking arguments, and the infamous moment when she ended up stabbing him in what she claimed was self-defense. By the time that marriage collapsed in 2009, people assumed she would seek peace, stability, healing. But instead, the next chapter of her life began with a storm so dark that even her first marriage looked calm in comparison. Keke told the world that those 9 years had made her stronger, wiser, tougher. But when the dust settled, it became painfully clear that stronger did not mean healed. It meant harder, sharper, less forgiving. And when she entered her second marriage with Michael Jamar, it was like watching 2 people hold hands while standing on a fault line. The chaos crept in quietly at first, but then everything erupted at the worst possible moment. Keke was 8 months pregnant, with a family juggling the unimaginable stress of caring for a child battling cancer, when Michael walked into a courthouse and filed for divorce. Social media nearly combusted. Anonymous accounts dragged him. Fan pages defended him. And everyone asked the same question: who leaves their pregnant wife while their child is fighting leukemia? But when Michael finally spoke, his voice carried the exhaustion of a man who had been drowning in silence for over 7 years. He said the love did not die, but the toxicity was killing him. He claimed he tried to be her strength, her backbone, her confidant, her everything. He raised children who were not biologically his. He sat in hospital rooms. He prayed with them. He fought for them. But he could not survive her anymore. And then came the part that froze the internet. Their son, the one who had survived cancer, revealed that when he came out as gay, his own mother told him that if she had known he would grow up to love men, she would have left him to die during his illness. Influencers stopped mid-sentence when they reacted to that clip. Comment sections turned into war zones. People were crying, arguing, stunned into silence. Because this was not a petty insult. This was not a heat-of-the-moment statement. This was the kind of sentence that echoes in a child's head for years, the kind that haunts their adulthood, the kind that makes strangers question what kind of mother could ever say such a thing. And instead of responding with compassion or even the slightest hint of remorse, Keke jumped onto social media like she was preparing for battle. She spun the narrative. She attacked Michael. She dismissed her son. She portrayed herself as the victim, as if his trauma was a personal conspiracy designed to ruin her image. She recorded videos, typed essays, hosted live streams, every moment of it dripping with deflection instead of accountability. But the cruel irony of it all? She barely blinked when Michael walked out of her life. There was no public heartbreak, no reflection, no attempt at healing the damage. Instead, she moved on like she was flipping to the next chapter of a messy reality show. A few months later, just a few months, she appeared online beaming from ear to ear, announcing a brand new husband. Zachariah. Marriage number 3. The internet barely had time to gasp before she hit them with another bombshell. She was pregnant again. Her 9th pregnancy. Social media was exhausted. People did not know whether to congratulate her, pray for her, or sit back and watch, because at this point, it felt less like a love story and more like a cycle, a loop of chaos that she kept spinning, dragging everyone around her into the whirlwind. And every time you think the chapter is closing, she tears the page out and starts a new one with even more drama than before. For a brief moment back in 2018, people actually believed Keke had finally found stability, someone who could match her flame without getting burned. Someone who could withstand the emotional thunderstorms she was known for. Someone who seemed steady enough to handle the unpredictable world of Keke Wyatt. But fast forward to July 2024, and the illusion shattered in the most familiar way possible, through a dramatic social media announcement. She popped online with a fresh wig, bold lipstick, and an even bolder declaration that she was divorced, liberated, and living her best life. She typed with the energy of someone who had rehearsed her freedom speech in the mirror all morning. Posts full of glossy selfies, new outfits, new makeup, and captions dripping with phrases like, choosing myself, healing journey, peace over chaos. She spoke like she had escaped the jaws of something monstrous. Like she had survived psychological warfare. The internet applauded, because if there's one thing Keke knows how to do, it's play the misunderstood phoenix rising from imaginary ashes. But what she did not expect, what nobody expected, was for Zachariah to step forward like a man who had been sitting on a volcanic mountain of truth, just waiting for the perfect moment to erupt. She clearly believed he would disappear into silence like the men before him. But Zachariah? He was not built for quiet. He was not built for tolerance. And he most definitely was not built for protecting her image. The moment she tried to control the narrative, he snatched the mic out of her hand and went on a media tour that made the internet freeze mid-scroll. Podcasts, radio shows, local interviews, TikTok lives. If a platform had a camera and a microphone, Zachariah was seated in front of it, legs crossed, spilling tea hotter than lava. And with every interview, every clip, every shocking revelation, her carefully crafted, healed woman energy started falling apart thread by thread. The version of Keke he described was not a wounded soul or a misunderstood queen. According to him, she was manipulative, emotionally volatile, and obsessed with control and attention. He said living with her felt like tiptoeing through a minefield where one wrong step could trigger a meltdown. He talked about how she allegedly belittled the children, yelled at them, guilt-tripped them, and demanded absolute obedience. He said she ruled the household like a queen in a collapsing kingdom, where fear kept everyone aligned. And for the first time, people began connecting dots they had ignored for years. Suddenly, her older son's trauma made sense. Her ex-husband's quiet exits made sense. The public feuds, the endless rants, the victim monologues, everything started forming a pattern, one that was impossible to ignore. And then came his most damning claims, the isolation, the emotional manipulation, the weaponizing of pregnancies and illnesses. He said she twisted emotions like wires around people's necks. That anytime he tried to regain independence, financially, socially, or even emotionally, she would crumble into dramatic tears or lash out with accusations meant to drag him back into submission. According to him, everything became a tool. Her tears, her body, her health, her children, even public sympathy. The more he spoke, the more people realized that the storm inside her home was far more violent than the polished image she projected online. What truly sent the internet into chaos was not his anger, but his consistency. He never disappeared. He did not speak once and vanish. No. He kept going. A micro-podcast hosted by a girl in her bedroom with 2,000 subscribers? He joined. A TikTok influencer doing a messy live stream at midnight? He showed up. A tiny YouTube channel filming on a cracked iPhone? He told his story again. He did not care about the size of the audience. He cared about the truth being heard somewhere, anywhere. And with every interview, the illusion of Keke as a misunderstood victim crumbled just a little more. Yet despite the growing mountain of testimonies, Keke refused to acknowledge anything. She continued uploading polished selfies. She continued posting filtered quotes about independence and inner peace. She continued pretending that her entire personal life was not collapsing publicly, piece by humiliating piece. She painted herself as a healed woman, but the world was watching her descend into the same chaos she spent years blaming on everyone else. And maybe that is the final twist in all of this: you can only run from the truth for so long. You can only build a persona out of smoke and mirrors until the mirror cracks. Because eventually, whether through an ex-husband, a hurting child, or a relentless trail of patterns, the truth does not quietly knock on your door. It kicks it open. When Jordan finally opened his mouth after months of silence, you could practically feel the weight of the truth dragging behind every word. The bitterness. The exhaustion. The kind of emotional fatigue that only comes from carrying a story so heavy it bends your spine. And when he spoke, he did not whisper. He did not soften it. He tore the curtain down. He said Lena had chased him out of the house with the same force, the same intensity, the same emotional warfare she used on every man who ever tried to love her. According to him, it was a pattern so predictable it might as well have been scripted. He even compared it to how she treated her ex, Marcus, years earlier: same accusations, same manipulation, same dramatic tears that could switch on and off like stage lights. And the internet? The internet sat up straight. Because suddenly this was no longer a messy breakup, this was a dam breaking after years of pressure. Then Jordan said the line that made everyone collectively choke: he had barely been gone 3 weeks. Not months. Not even a full season. 3 weeks, and Lena had already filled his spot with someone new. But not just anyone, someone who should never have been in that position. Someone who had no business being around the kids in that way. Someone who was her married cousin. Yes. Married. And her cousin. The internet lost its mind. The way Jordan said it, you could tell he had played that sentence over and over again in his head, trying to make it make sense, failing every single time. Because according to him, this was not harmless family support. This was not a cousin stopping by to help carry groceries or paint a room. He said it was an affair that started while he and Lena were still together. Not flirting. Not accidental closeness. A full-blown, shameless affair hiding behind the mask of family connection. And the wildest part? Lena still had the audacity to go online and pretend she was blindsided by the breakup, posting inspirational quotes like she was the one who had been abandoned. Jordan practically laughed through his teeth when he talked about it. She cries for sympathy while hiding the real story. But he did not just bring emotion, he brought evidence. Screenshots. Photos. Message logs. Timelines. Receipts stacked higher than her excuses. The kind of proof that does not leave room for interpretation. And when he released those receipts, the internet was not ready. The reaction hit in waves: shock, disbelief, screaming laughter, then dark silence as people realized this story was spiraling into something much heavier. Because the affair was not the end of it. Jordan said Lena and her cousin had future plans. Something wholesome, right? Something healing? A bakery or a daycare or at least a candle business. No. They allegedly wanted to open a church. A full church. Together. The memes were instant. Not a holy alliance built on unholy behavior. If Messi was a ministry, they'd be the senior pastors. It was chaos from every corner of the internet. But Jordan was not laughing. Not even a little. Because for him, this was not just embarrassing, it was dangerous. He said Lena had a pattern of bringing random men in and out of the house, letting them around the children before she even knew who these men really were. And then Jordan dropped the part that made the entire internet freeze. He said one of the men she allowed inside the home had inappropriately touched one of the children. He said Lena found out, and instead of getting the man out of the house immediately, she allegedly dismissed it. She minimized it. She pretended nothing happened because she did not want to disrupt her relationship. And when he said that, the tone online shifted instantly. This was no longer gossip. No longer cheating. No longer petty drama. This was horrifying. This was the kind of allegation that makes your stomach drop and your heart stop. And suddenly, people were not laughing. They were sick. They were angry. They were terrified for the children. Then came the whispers that made everything even worse. Jordan said one of the children might not even be his biologically. He said the timelines were suspicious. He said the behavior was suspicious. He said too many things were not adding up. And the internet, nosy, relentless, incredible at math, started connecting dots no one even asked them to connect. Now the situation was not just about infidelity or manipulation. It was about paternity, trust, and a deeply broken household. Some people defended Lena, claiming Jordan was emotional and exaggerating. Others said no man lies about something this devastating just for revenge. But the most interesting part was how fast the internet turned. People pulled up old posts, old interviews, old clips where Lena talked about her past relationships. Suddenly, the pattern looked real. It looked consistent. It looked intentional. Comments began to fill the timeline: every man cannot be the villain. At some point the pattern is the truth. She always plays the victim. But why do so many men say the same thing? This is starting to sound less like coincidence and more like character. And once that conversation started, nothing could stop it. Jordan said the saddest part was not the betrayal. Not the humiliation. Not even the lies. He said the real heartbreak came from watching the kids suffer. According to him, they were anxious, confused, withdrawn. They were losing trust in adults. They were struggling in school. They were meeting a rotation of uncles who magically vanished every few months. He said they were drowning in instability, and Lena refused to acknowledge it. He said he begged her to slow down, to stop bringing strange men around, to think about the children, to provide a stable home. But he claimed she dismissed him every time, calling him controlling, dramatic, jealous, insecure. And maybe, in her mind, that is what she truly believed. But to him? He said he was not trying to control her life. He said he was trying to save their children. And the internet, the internet did not know what to do with this one. Because yes, people love mess. Yes, chaos keeps the algorithm fed and fat. Yes, scandal is entertainment, until it is not. The moment children entered the narrative, everything shifted. The jokes slowed down. The memes stopped hitting. The comments went from laughing emojis to long paragraphs full of discomfort, disbelief, and genuine concern. Suddenly, this wasn't teeth anymore. It was not fun. It was not entertainment. It was a darkness that made people sit up straighter, frown harder, and think twice about why they were even watching. When children are involved, the room gets quiet. And that silence? It was loud. But Jordan wasn't finished. Not even close. He said Lena's married cousin, the same cousin she allegedly had an affair with, was living in the house under the title of family helper. But according to Jordan, this helper was not helping anything except the destruction of their marriage. He claimed the cousin was spending nights there. He said there were photos of the two of them traveling together. He even claimed they had matching tattoos and shared a secret phone like two teenagers hiding from their parents. At that point, people didn't know whether to burst into laughter at the insanity of it all or cry for the children trapped in the center of this tornado. Rumors spread across social media like a wildfire no one could control. Some people wanted to know if the cousin's marriage had imploded behind the scenes. Others debated whether this crossed the boundaries of family, morality, sanity, or all three at once. Someone tweeted, "This isn't just messy, this is spiritual warfare with a ring light." And when you add the alleged plan to open a church, social media completely lost it. Folks were making jokes like, they're about to launch the Church of Delusion and Disrespect, or, if Messi was a ministry, they'd be the senior pastors, junior pastors, deacons, and choir directors. The internet was having a field day. But beneath the laughter, something darker was forming. Because the more people looked, the more they realized that Lena's sweet, soft-spoken image was just that, an image. A character. A mask. This woman who preached about faith, family, healing, and spiritual growth suddenly looked like someone with more